All right, how's everybody doing? It's been a long 2 weeks without seeing everybody. Welcome back to the Lincoln Real Estate Group. Now it's a post-coronavirus market impact for the Denver housing market. Man, our market's back up and running. This last May was way above last year, which we'll touch on in a minute. There were a lot of doomsday sayers in the midst of all of this stuff, and boy, I tell you what, we've got the information that's kind of, putting those issues to rest. The market is rolling forward. So at any rate, stick with us. We'll take a look at the numbers. We'll take a look at what's going on in financing. We'll have some discussion on a number of issues that are affecting, our market and stuff. It's all good. If you're watching live and you're watching on any of our different pages, we will try to be monitoring those comments. If you really want to get your comment responded to, watch us on the Lincoln Real Estate Group livecast page. And so that's that. And great to see everybody. And with that, I'm going to bring in our all-star cast. Let's make sure I didn't already have them sitting there goofy. Oh, there they are. We
learned from last week. We were ready for you this time.
We are ready. So we got Jen Erzinger, the leader of the Disinfected Dozen here at Lincoln Real Estate Group, our trusted broker and owner of Lincoln Real Estate Group. Our special and always on top of things financing expert, Pam Wandry in the upper right, some Columbine Mortgage, and bringing us all the stuff on that. And then Jen's A-Team and Sanitation Squad. I guess you'd call us a disinfected squad, and Schabacher, broker associate, and then little old me here in the corner, my Steramine and my masks, gloves, and booties right off to the side, ready to go. So, hi everybody, how you doing?
Yes, good.
Great. Doing well.
You guys.
Yeah. So I think the big news we want to lead off with before we get into the details is we were looking at the activity from May, which we really didn't get to start to open up until, and so it was up 11% over last year. What say you guys? What do you think's driving that?
I think it's excellent.
Yeah. No, what do you think? What do you think is behind? Because everybody was saying, "Oh, well, we'll have a slow running start and the whole thing and stuff," and it just, blammo, I'm going to dissolve to that real quick.
We still had a big pool of buyers that needed to move prior to us, prior to us stopping showing. So those people are back. Overall, I think showings are a little lighter, as witnessed by some of our listings that we put on over the weekend. But the people who are looking are serious and they need to buy it, and people still have to move regardless of the circumstances. So.
Yeah. No, I'm going to see if I can hold on a second here. I got to turn off the audio. There we go. Let me see if I can bring this up for our audience. The pending sales for May. 11%. Last year was 5,600. This May, 6,235. Those are going to be June closings. For the doomsday sayers, and the folks saying, everything's going to slow down. Zillow's back in the market now. It's just roll. So this is all good news for those of us who are, or for everybody that's was concerned about what's going on with the housing market. Dr. Yoon and Mr. Stevens. In fact, we reported on that earlier podcast. Are saying no, housing's going to be strong and it's going to take us out of this, and we're still going to see some appreciation and stuff like that. So this is all good news. But yeah, wow. It just rolling start. I think the pace car already left the track, man, because it's going, and that's good. And financing's drive a little bit of that too, Pam. We'll get into your section here in a little bit, but what kind of a role do you think financing's playing behind all of this?
Well, the historically low rates that are going on right now are driving a lot of refinances, and, all those buyers that are anxious to get out there are, excited to have that, like the low rates that are out there. Things are going gangbusters in financing, and, a lot of the overlays have been lifted for a lot of the loan programs. And so, we're going crazy.
Going crazy.
It's helping the, people, into their homes, and it's obviously boosting, people being able to get out there and purchase that have been waiting.
At historically low interest rates too. I mean, to try to get out there in front of, to get a hedge against inflation, and if you're in the low 3s or high 2s, I mean, that's like free money,
That's what I keep telling people.
So, why not? I remember we were saying this is a great time to buy, and it's like, well, there's a whole bunch of people that figured that out because it's pretty active, which, and so for our audience, things are moving along, so we just don't have a whole lot of that, news to try to dispute and get you the real facts on, because it's just all good stuff happening there. But with that, we have our weekend update session with Jen, and so I'm going to toss to our trusted leader here, Jen, and tell us what was going on in the market this last week. And I'm moving stuff around for us. So.
Yes, you are. So I can't see it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, try that. All right. Here we go. Yeah.
So total actives that we had are down. I believe that says 5805.
Yes.
And then we had a fabulous weekend. We had 1,106 go under contract.
Wow.
Which is up 242. So we had a huge weekend. New listings was 712. So that went down just a little bit. And then we closed 527 units and withdrew 80. So again, I've been saying this for 3 weeks. I don't think that withdrawal number really means much anymore.
No.
Just pretty much withdrawn for the normal reasons. But boy, our pendings, we had a great weekend.
Oh man, and it we'll see here in a second. It just keeps keeping on. I mean, we're just gobbling up the inventory as fast as it can come on, and all of that. There was a thing that came up, and hat tip to. We've got a Lori Greenlee of Keller Williams downtown who posted a thing about, we had talked earlier about the flight to the burbs, which we're not really seeing that stuff right now, but she had posted a bit of research she had done, and it was quite interesting. So without making any real claims here, but this is a map of the zip codes in the metro, and we talked about perhaps seeing flights from the more densely populated areas, and so we'll keep our eye on this, but you can see there's a real deep red mark down here towards downtown area. This is looking there, and those are where they have it's kind of headed towards buyers market. There's more buying opportunities, more inventory in there, and the blue zones are where the inventory is still tight and stuff. So I was like, well, I think that's kind of the beginning of that, seeing the flight from the densely populated areas out to the less densely populated areas. What say you guys?
Well, I've been tracking those numbers since the beginning of March, and I can't definitively say or draw any conclusion that that's actually happening in the Denver metro area. Now, I'm only keeping track of the 5 counties. So, but in those 5 counties, there's not any one area that particularly says, hey, we're out of here. We're going somewhere else. Yeah. But on the flip side, we're not as densely populated as like a New York.
Right.
So, there's still space. I mean,
well, and that's kind of the way. That's kind of the way I looked at that map was like it's not really definitive yet, but it certainly looked like we're kind of looking to see the beginnings of perhaps maybe a balanced market in the downtown area and still sellers market on the outskirts. But
And we're sort of tracking and operating under the assumption that people want to stay in the 5-county area. I mean, we've been reading reports about places like Pueblo going gangbusters and other smaller counties, as far as 50, 75 miles out. So that maybe, more likely might be a little bigger indicator, and we're not officially tracking those yet. So.
Right.
There's also, for every 10 people that might want to go, there's 10 more that want to come in because these houses are selling. They're turning over.
Well, and that's the thing. We're still seeing, the growth here and the mystery reason, like I've yet to find somebody.
We are a smaller market compared to many other markets across the United States.
And Brian Buffini, and I think we had mentioned this way back when this started, was they expected to see more interstate moving, right, where people are leaving some of these things and hightailing it. And I would imagine Colorado, with its weather and the mountains and still there's space to be had, is probably on people's list. So that all bears well for homeowners and people that are buying, because it's like, cool. Well, now let's go take a look at what we started this live cast as the coronavirus impact on the market, and I think it's safe to assume that with what's going with the market right now, despite showing restrictions and having to be in a near hazmat suit to go show, the market, the pace car left, and this thing is rolling. And I think weekend stats show that. We'll take a look at the long-term thing here with my fancy chart with my numbers all crashed together. But so we're going to get to the specifics. But as you can see, this blue line here is the number of properties that are going under contract for the previous 7 days. So this is kind of a running total right here was like this big boom, man. The pace car left and rocketed it off. But it's still kind of following its weekly flow, and look at that trend line. I mean, boom. So the green line here is the number of inventory that's coming on, and you can see how it's making the little peaks and valleys, and that's pretty typical of what we would see because the a lot of listings Wednesdays and Thursdays are big days for the new listings to come on, so you can get in front of it, get them shown, get them into the weekend. The weekends and Monday, Tuesdays, not big days for listings to come on, and that's what that shows. And we're still seeing a fair amount of price drops after they go on. And I think in our earlier show, let me get back to the panel here. Let's talk about pricing a little bit. Some of them were people just adjusting, they were adjusting $100 to get the listing refreshed. But what are you guys seeing out there? As far as
it's the same story. Overpriced inventory isn't selling. Buyers are wicked smart. They're a very educated buyer pool.
Yeah.
And it's a buyer's decision as to whether or not they're going to overpay you for your property.
Yeah.
So we have to be priced at market value. It's really, really important. And the overbids will come if it's a hot enough house.
Yeah.
Buyers will pay, but it has to be their idea.
Has to be their idea, right? And I was out once we opened up. I showed a bunch of things, and I was just like, what are you thinking, man? Well, I know what they're thinking. They want to get the most that they can get out of their property.
Yes.
And then they don't listen to those of us that say it actually works. It's like counterintuitive. If you want more, price it a little bit below market, and you'll get increased activity. Yes. Then you get the competition. We'll banged everybody with the microphone. Anyway, but we are seeing a little bit of that, and I think some of it might have been, we were all pent up. The market was kind of frozen, and there may have just been testing the waters to see what the heck's going on. But the deal is, you can't really outsmart the market.
Right.
And depending on the price range, $450, $550 or so. If you're 10 or 15 over, well, that can be enough, all right, to just keep somebody from writing something. They don't want to get into a bidding war, So pricing's more important than ever. But all still bodes well. Another thing that we had going on was now we track what we call days on the market for our audience. That's like the time the property goes on until it goes under contract.
Mm-hmm.
We're beginning part of the year. It's usually higher, and then we get into the spring surge. In our case, what's odd is in April, we had less time on the market while we were closed down than we did in May, and June's averaging at 24 right now. But I think in the May numbers, we still have properties that were, while they were on the MLS, weren't available to show. But again, they're in line with where we were at last year. So no big surprise there. And then the other thing is, big question is like, well, what's happening to values and stuff? Well, we got active market and the whole thing. So this is just a 10-year average price in the metro area. You can see. And I can't mouse on the screen. I guess I can move the stuff. You can see that it keeps going up. Average price right now 485, last year 478. So everything's headed in the right direction. Everything's in line with what the real experts had predicted. So with that, I'm going to switch back from my graphics to the panel, and let's talk about your thoughts.
I mean, pricing is everything. If you're incorrect, you're going to sit. If you're low, you're going to get multiple offers. And if you're priced right, you're probably going to get multiple offers. It may not go for a huge amount over your asking price, but you're still likely to get multiple offers. There's enough buyers right now, and our inventory is at right now a historic low.
Yeah.
I think the national average right now, according to NAR, is 3 months.
Yeah.
That's unheard of.
and one of the other dynamics that happens to an overpriced property is it sits there, they finally drop their price, and now it's stale. And so the seller has to drop their price below where they would have had they just priced it right in the first place. And you can find that. I mean, they've had that flyer on our MLS system for at least 10 years. It shows here's what. Yeah. If you don't price it right, you kind of lose what you overpriced. So.
Well, you get unfairly stigmatized too, because if you sit for more than 1 or 2 weekends, everyone's like, "Why didn't it go under multiple?"
What's wrong with this house?
Like, it was overpriced. There's nothing wrong, but
what's wrong with it? We'll have a picture about that coming up at the end of the show. But what your buyers are thinking. Yeah, but the thing is, it's just an amazing rebound. I mean, I don't think anybody here expected to see
not that
like
amazing.
Boom.
Yeah.
Like holy cow, man.
Out of a cannon.
And I think it also speaks towards how many buyers are out there and how many people are still looking for homes. Yeah. We just had one where we put an offer in on a condo that was priced around $250,000. I kind of expected to see somewhere between 8 to 10 offers. There were only 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when the rest of those buyers come back in, it's still going to stay nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that entry-level market is kind of where the job loss is struggling as well. I think I ran into that with the townhome I put on last weekend. We still went under in 48 hours for a little bit more. But we didn't quite have the spectacular showings that I think we would have gotten if we were pre-COVID. Yeah. But they're serious people, and all it takes is one contract. All it takes is one. So no complaints, but I think that market's definitely affected by some job loss.
I agree. When these jobs come back, think about how many more buyers are coming back into the market.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing. I'll take 5 serious buyers looking at a property than 15 or 20, tire kickers.
Absolutely.
It's like, that's okay, they're serious, they love it. A lot of that has to do with, our marketing, the images, the virtual tours have gotten so much better. I think that bodes well for everybody. And you had, on that topic, you had mentioned something about the renters are getting reluctant to renew leases.
Renters are getting reluctant to renew leases. They're paying higher rent than they've paid in many probably decades, and they can't use their amenities. They can't have access to the pool. They can't use their gym. So, there's certain benefits of renting if that's what you want. But at this point, at that price point, they're paying for rent and they don't have anything. They're going to look to buy.
Well, yeah, and I would imagine 2 months locked in 700 square feet.
Yeah. With your favorite person.
And that view out your window of the metro area, well, that's pretty good, but man, it's getting a little old,
It's definitely getting old.
Yeah. But yeah, so but I tell you, the thing that's driving all of this, we wouldn't be doing any of it if we didn't have Pam behind the deal. For our audience,
Yep.
Pam is in charge of all the financing worldwide. So if you, that's our global financing master. But point is, she's got some really good points. There was something about FHA had announced their plans to help with loans and forbearance. You want to talk a little bit about that for us? What was going on with that? It was like the FHA wasn't going to insure loans.
Well, we didn't know. So up until this point, the FHFA had come out and said how they were going to deal with like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mae loans or Freddie Mac loans that went into forbearance. How they were going to handle buying those, and that they were going to supplement after 4 months, that they were going to kick in to help cover the servicing costs and things like that. But we hadn't seen anything for FHA, and that had left FHA pricing for lenders as the big, we don't know what to do, because we don't know what's going to happen if a borrower goes into forbearance for an FHA loan, because their current guidelines or rules are that if a FHA loan goes into forbearance, they're no longer qualified to be covered by the mortgage insurance, FHA mortgage insurance. And so FHA just last week came out with a plan where they now will, the lender will be on the hook for 20% of the loan amount, but after that, but then FHA will buy that loan in deference. So it's an answer. It removes the uncertainty of what's going to happen, that these these lenders with the loans have a place for those loans to go. And so it should, in the long term, definitely help FHA pricing.
Yeah.
Which isn't terrible right now, but it's not where it was. And I think it's going to come back down now, especially because of this announcement. And so that's great news, because a lot of those first-time home buyers and people with low down payment, low credit, those same ones in that same buying market that we were just talking about in the lower price range, that's going to help them out getting those better rates that are from the FHA loans. So that's all good news. We had alluded earlier to how low rates are. Freddie Mac had their 30-year fixed last week at 3.18%.
Wow.
I have lost several loans under 3% for 30-year fixed.
Wow.
It is crazy. Purchase contracts, according to MBA, went up 5% week ending of May 29th.
Applications?
Oh, yes. Our applications, purchase applications went up 5%. That's 18% higher than the same week last year. So that just shows you buyers are out there. They're ready. They want to go. And we have no lack of, the housing market is going to thrive.
Well, and people want that stability and lock in their housing costs against the uncertainty. I mean, that's all amazing. 18% from the same time last year. Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's really awesome, and you can't blame them. I mean, what'd you say? 3.125%.
3.18 is the average for Freddie Mac's 30-year fix.
Man,
Yep.
that's something. How about that in the high balance and the jumbo loan things? What's going on there?
So those are still a challenge. The rates on those, investors are still a little nervous. The big banks are offering, 700 FICO minimum, 20% down on some jumbos for some fairly decent rates. But most high balance loans they're still priced ridiculously with a big discount fee, high interest rate.
And for our audience, those are loans with their loan amount at or above $510,000. Yeah.
$400. Yeah.
Right.
So we've been seeing a lot of shifting to where we do a first and second piggyback with the first lien that's under
the 80% so that you can, not have mortgage insurance, and then the remaining balance up to 85% loan to value depending on the HELOC lender, but so that we can get that higher loan balance, combined loan balance for borrowers, and have a lower overall combined interest rate. So we've been seeing several of those recently, since we can't get jumbos as easily. So there's still options for the higher price range of financing. It's just we had to go back to the first and second combos.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Well, also for those people right now that want to talk about foreclosures and getting on those lists, the news right now.
Ain't gonna happen.
Not a lot to look at.
Only 1 in 10 homeowner is in forbearance. That's in forbearance has low equity. And basically of that 10%, 9% of those have 9% or less in equity, and only 1% is underwater. Wow. That don't be expecting a forbearance or foreclosure list anytime soon.
And that's a nationwide number too.
And that's a nationwide number.
I would submit that we're probably better than that.
Yes.
Unless you just bought or something like that.
Yes, but you still have forbearance. You can get 6 to 12 months. You have a little bit of time to recover. It's not likely that.
And it can be paid. It can be paid on the refinance and or when they sell.
Yes.
How are you going to foreclose?
They're deferring them, not a balloon payment at the end of the term.
Right.
So
it's amazing. That is huge.
No, that really is. And that brings up a question though on. Okay, so the folks that lost their job during or they were furloughed and then they came back. Pam, have you dealt with anybody there? I mean, as far as overlays or explanations, are those people still able to get approved?
Well, I haven't seen that happen yet. I'm guessing majority of those people that were furloughed or laid off are probably still on unemployment, because stats have shown that they're going to make more money staying on unemployment right now than going back to work. So I haven't seen anybody come back from that yet, but going from what current guidelines are, I'm guessing they'll just have to show, a letter of explanation explaining the job gap. And I mean, unless you've been living under a rock, all the underwriters are going to understand this thing called coronavirus happened.
It's a one-word letter.
Could you explain what that whole virus thing was about? Yeah. Sure.
So it should be fairly easy for an underwriter to be like, oh, okay, they're back to work. They've had 2 pay stubs. It looks like things are going forward. They have no reason to be concerned about their employment not continuing right now. So it shouldn't have it. It should be fine.
Mm-hmm. No,
that's what current guidelines are asking for, our 2 paycheck stubs.
That's general. They want to see what a month payment is, so a month's worth of income is, so that they can, that's what you basically have to show. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's 1 pay stub, sometimes it's 4, depending on how you're paid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So 1 month. Gotcha.
Yeah, 1 month.
This is all good news.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of things is I think a lot of folks are putting on the making an attempt to buy local, as far as getting the economy going on. Housing's kind of there. People want to get back to work, buy local, support your business. But the big news is it's summertime, and I hear, at least in parts of the Denver metro area, pools and the kids' camps are opening up.
Yes.
Forget housing, man. Let's go for a swim.
Get the children out of the house.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess they're rethinking how schools are going to open up and stuff in the fall. Well, I guess more to be revealed on that front. Information on that is changing every day. But yeah. So we had kind of a short show today, just because, let's see, we probably could have gone and said, hey, everything's cruising, guys. See you next month.
We all have work to do. We can't hang out for an hour anymore.
Yeah, we can't hang out for an hour because we're opened up. We have to get back to work.
Time to go to work.
But you guys have any final thoughts we want to tell our audience about? Or what did I forget? you know.
Shop local. You said something about insurance, Tony.
Oh,
Homeowners insurance.
yeah, and that just came out of a recent thing where I had insurance quotes come in all over the place. And so the point was, you want to make sure if you're buying a home that you've got the insurance, but it was more of a shop that around, I mean, some of the national carriers where you go to the online website and they're in New Jersey, it's kind of like you wouldn't call a real estate agent, in St. Louis, Missouri, right, to help you with your house in the Denver market. Mm-hmm. I think the same thing has to go with insurance carriers, find an agent, but really, I mean, they had one of the estimates was 3 times what we're normally seeing for a single family home, and obviously, square footage and conditions and blah 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 all make a difference, but really it was just like keep an eye on
the flip
that.
side, I had a client who was woefully underinsured too, who went through kind of an online quote, and that was scary as well.
Yeah.
Luckily nothing happened, but that's both sides of the equation.
Totally.
So.
You really need to get advised well and have somebody that I mean, like
You need to pick up the phone and talk to somebody, because insurance is a whole nother animal.
I'll hold it.
It's not like you just click some things online and boom, you have insurance. You need to know what you have.
Right, and what's covered, and if it burns down, and how much is your deductible,
Particularly
all of
here
these
in
things
Colorado with hail.
hail,
And now there's a few carriers that do sewer line coverage, so that's key to look into.
Yeah.
Particularly for my area where we have these older, 100-year clay
pipes, right?
With massive trees.
Job security for the sewer replacement companies, but no, so true. And the other thing is, any of us, if you're in the midst of something, we know when we see they're like, oh, I got my insurance together. It's $6,300 a year. We could probably help you with that,
do a little better.
We could probably advise you to make a few more phone calls,
We've got a few people we can refer.
Yes.
Yeah.
We know you. And once again, stay local. Stay local with your insurance. Stay local with your lenders. Stay local. Anything you buy local that money stays in your community.
Yeah. Very important, especially
right now.
Our small businesses are getting back to work and trying to, get back on the saddle, and let's get this ride going.
Yes.
Me talking like I'm a big horse rider and stuff. They gotta. That video would be pretty funny. Tony, the city slicker, trying to figure out how I'm going to get on that horse. For you horse lovers, that's not a cut. That's me. City slicker. Like, okay, I don't know a thing about that. And then the importance of doing a thorough inspection when you do get under contract. We run into all sorts of things. Now, I'm just not sure. I was trying to figure out.
Does that even turn on? Like, how does that happen?
I was trying to figure out the meeting that whomever had about their solution to the fact that the cables might not be long enough.
I'm going to tell you, Tony, those line sets are pretty expensive, so maybe they didn't want to pay the extra 10 feet.
Cheaper to elevate the condensers and see if anybody notices. But yeah, hence having a really good we see lots of stuff.
That's Anne's latest listing. No, that would be Anne. That would be something Anne would find.
Probably.
It's the boat of we have the elevated AC system, right? Yeah, it's elevated, right? That's elevated more, right? It's elevated. It's good.
All in how you spin it.
Anyway, so yeah, that's about all we got for you guys today. I really appreciate you all tuning in, or if you're watching this later, we're probably going to be jumping to monthly updates because things are just kind of cruising, and we'll have a month's worth of data to review unless something pops up and stuff, in which case we'll put a post on our Facebook feeds and we'll see you then. But thank you all for joining in. Anybody have any last words before we say goodbye?
Stay safe out there and have a great month.
And I would like to point out, because I had an interesting thing last week where my kids had the flu, so I made them go get tested.
Oh.
They only had the flu.
They only had the flu.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Only the flu.
Good.
The flu does exist this year. We have not heard a lot about it.
All right.
But it does exist, so
Yeah.
it was kind of interesting.
And they had to do that test, though. Oof.
It was a drive-through test. They drove up and did the nasal swab and drove on out. I think it took less than 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah,
It didn't have to get
good.
too far up there. Shoved up there. Okay, that's
No. It went really well. They said they were all really nice, but yeah, we just wanted, I figured it'd be better safe than sorry. Keep them quarantined if they had it, and nope, they're good.
Yeah.
It's only the flu.
Yeah.
It's only the flu.
Yeah.
Did you ever think we'd say that?
No.
It's only H1N1. You're fine. Yeah. So.
They're all better now. They're back at work.
Yeah.
They can go back now that they're not, don't have to be quarantined.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Fantastic news.
All right. Awesome.
I thought that was
awesome.
interesting. It hit a little close to home last week.
Yeah. it
Well,
did.
yeah. And everybody out there, be safe, and thanks for tuning in.
Yes.
And we will see you. We'll see
See you
you
on the
back when we
flip side.
circle back later time. Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye.